I, female 33, met my fiance, male 37, 2 years ago. We're planning on getting married in January. He is a single dad and used to live at a rented apartment with his 9-year-old son, but they recently moved into my apartment. He's currently struggling financially, and I've been taking care of all of his son's needs, whether it be school, or clothes, or medication. His son has a chronic condition, cystic fibrosis, and my fiancé complains about not having health insurance because of his inability to work and pay for medication, and having debts to pay as well. I'm aware of his son's condition, and it gets real hard sometimes, but he's so sweet and deserves a good stable life like any other kid, and I'm willing to do all I can to help. Lately, my fiancé wanted to borrow $300 from me, but refused to say why he needed it specifically. He says medication, even though I had it covered already. He then says he wanted to buy some stuff for himself. I told him that I would give him money, but he needed to start looking for a job and not be counting on me on everything while I already have my hands full. He argued with me about how I was humiliating him for every time he asks for money, and saying he had everything written down so he can repay, but I don't want that. He got mad at me, and this wasn't the first time. A couple of days went by, and he came home with stuff from the grocery store, new clothes. And when I asked him where he got the money, he said he sold my silver necklace that was on the nightstand that I didn't need for $450 to buy some stuff for his son and save some for his son's dental care since he's been struggling with getting money for that. I got so upset. He could have told me, at least asked me first. My necklace cost me $900 when I bought it. This made me really upset. I couldn't help but lash out at him for what he did and making excuses he needed the money for his son's dental care. He apologized, saying he acted without thinking, started blaming it on his situation, and said that he'll ask his mom for money to repay me if I needed the money right away. I insisted on getting money from him after he thought it was okay to do this. But he's been trying to make excuses, saying that I at least should think about my future stepson and how he's unable to support him and needing my help with that. That's what I've been doing, so I insisted on getting money from him, and he called me inconsiderate because of that. Not the a-hole. This guy sold your property without even consulting you. You're already doing so much for him and his son, and that's how he repays you? The guy sounds like a leech. He has no right to get mad at you, and he clearly doesn't respect you if he's willing to do things like that. He's taking you for a mug, OP. Not the a-hole. Why are you with a lying, manipulative thief who uses you as an ATM? He needs money so bad he will sell your belongings. Give him back your engagement ring, and kick his butt to the curb while you're at it. Not the a-hole. Ask him where he sold it and tell them it's stolen. Ask if they'll hold it for you to repurchase, or file a police report to get it back. Dump the man. He thinks so little of you that he thought he can steal from you after everything you do for him and his kid. Leech. My 37 male husband, 49 male, has 2 kids. Tim, 29 male, and Jesse, 25 male. Tim is the result of his mother getting hubby drunk at a high school graduation party after years of crushing on him. They never dated, no relationship. She admits this, and hubby only interacted with her to take care of Tim. Fast forward 4 years. She drops Tim off for his weekend and infant Jesse, and never picks them up. Long and short of it, my husband got sole custody of Tim, and she agreed to him adopting Jesse. She stayed out of their lives until Tim was 17, and she cleaned up her life. Awesome. Jesse wants nothing to do with her, but according to hubby, Tim has lived with her ever since they reunited. Hubby and I live on his family farm, us in one house, his parents in another on the property. Every time Tim comes to visit, he brings his mom with him, and it's usually a multi-day visit. First time I met her, she made a lot of out-of-place comments like, "Dear husband, better not try to date me while I'm here." Told Tim I was exactly his age. Few comments about me being a stay-at-home husband. Her dog begs at the table and steals food off plates, and everyone is supposed to just put up with it. My hubby basically ignores her and focuses on his son, as does his parents. Mother-in-law said she basically tolerates her presence so she can see her grandson drama-free, and I get that. Here's where I may be the a-hole. Obviously, I have no say over what happens in in-law's house, and that's fine, but these last few visits with her have just exhausted me mentally and emotionally. Tim is not disabled in any way, nor is his mom. She's not close with any of the family, so there's no concrete reason for her to tag along so much. Tim will come to our place to hang out and play games, and his mom always follows. They're currently visiting, and last night Tim wanted to come over and game, and his mom said she was coming too. I said no. Tim asked why not, and I told him that I don't want his mom in my house anymore. She always says inappropriate things no matter how many times hubby tells her to respect me. And he's an adult. His mother doesn't need to come chaperone. And frankly, she's not a major component of my husband's life that I would need to placate her. Tim called my husband at work to tell him what I said, and hubby agreed with me. Now, Tim's mom is saying I'm an a-hole for interfering in their family. If Tim were disabled or a young child, I'd understand, but we're all adults. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It seems Tim may have some kind of mental unhealthy attachment problem with his mother. They aren't a family, though. Hell, she abandoned a child that wasn't his along with their actual child. She's lucky your husband even speaks to her. Tim needs to accept the family you wanted as a child will never exist. It is impossible for several reasons. I'm gonna assume that Tim was never told the circumstances of his conception, or he's really out of touch with thinking somehow that assault is water under the bridge. If it's the first time, it might be time for some hard truths. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. But this all reads like Tim is an 8-year-old. There's absolutely no reason she needs to come to the property at all. Tim is a grown man. My fiancé has known Andrew, the owner of the company I work for, practically her entire life. Longer than I've known her, and longer than I've worked there. I've worked for this company for about 9 months, and it's a really great place to work. I wouldn't say it's my dream job by any means, and the job is pretty stressful. But Andrew is a great boss, the company is very friendly and welcoming, and there's great potential for promotions and raises. And, though I haven't known Andrew as long as my fiancé, I've grown to really like and appreciate him as a boss and as a person. I trust his judgment nearly all the time, and up until recently, so did my fiancé, who used to work for the company and has known him and his family forever. I also did not get the job through my fiancé, and Andrew did not know about my relationship with her when I was hired. To be honest, I didn't know he owned the company, or that she knew him until I told her where I would be working. My fiancé's lifelong best friend, Samantha, worked there as well up until a few days ago. Samantha has known Andrew her entire life as well. A few days ago, Samantha was fired. I don't know quite why, but I know it has something to do with deceiving clients or something of the like. Nothing illegal as far as I can tell, but it sounds like it was some pretty shady business practices, and not something that Andrew stands for, so he fired her. Samantha insists that the whole thing has been blown out of proportion, and she was wrongfully fired. My fiancé is taking her side now against Andrew, and has decided he's a horrible person, despite knowing him, his character, and his business practices for years. My fiancé is now asking me to quit my job in solidarity for Samantha, and because I shouldn't want to work for someone like Andrew. I don't pretend to know the details, so I'm not taking sides, but I also don't want to quit my job. I believe that Andrew did what he thought was best, but I don't know the whole story, so I don't know who to believe. I do like my job, and I like working for Andrew though, and I think it's strange that my fiancé has suddenly flipped her opinion of this man she's known forever, and that she's asking me to quit a perfectly good job with a very upstanding boss, just because of this. To me, even if it was a misunderstanding, it seems to have been an honest mistake on his part, and his way of simply protecting his company's reputation since Samantha's actions, regardless of whether or not she did it, have put his company in a pretty bad light. Am I the a-hole for refusing to quit my job? Not the a-hole. Your job is your income and should not be quit over a whim or a single bad business decision. Apparently, your fiancé likes their best friend more than her former boss, which is fine, but they should value you and your career prospects even more. Not the a-hole. If she was truly fired for illegitimate reasons, she'd have a lawsuit, and that's the appropriate recourse for dealing with employment issues, not asking friends to quit in solidarity. Separately, here's a giant red flag. Samantha insists the whole thing had been blown out of proportion, and she was wrongfully fired. Those statements don't add up. Apparently, something did happen, and Samantha recognizes it was wrong. She just disagrees with the severity of the punishment. But that's not her call to make. If your boss has typically been fair and displayed good judgment, there's no reason to think he suddenly went off the deep end. I, 46 female, and my husband, Sam, 52 male, have a 21-year-old daughter, Sarah. Her dad is actually my late husband who died when she was 6. My husband has been a dad to her from when she was 10. I have been saving money for her since my first husband died. When I married my second husband, he started to contribute to the savings for my daughter as well. Our priority was always paying for any education that she wanted, and then any money left we would either pay for a wedding, down payment, grandchild trust, etc. She is very bright and got a full ride to school. She recently became engaged to Ryan, 22 male. They're planning a wedding for summer 2023. My husband and I offered to pay for the wedding. From the beginning, our guest list has always been about 100 to 125. Okay with R&S. This included my late husband's family, Sam's family, and mine, along with close family friends. I asked Ryan to have his parents reach out to us with a guest list. We really only needed numbers, not names. Ryan told me his parents' list is 50 to 60. S&R, about 50, including the wedding party. Both Sarah and I were so happy because the thing is, Sarah has always dreamed of getting married at a venue that she fell in love with when my husband and I got married, and it has a 250 capacity. I joked with her that if I didn't have to pay for college, she could get married there. We assume of the 235 people invited, we will have between 180 and 200. This venue is almost $30,000 to rent, plus $250 to $300 per person for catering. We have already put down a deposit for both. The venue also has 12 guest rooms for the night of the wedding. 3 will go to the bride and groom and parents. The other 9 will go to my stepson and wife, 1. The bridal party, 5. Ours brother, 1. My brother and wife, 1. And my sister-in-law, late husband's sister. Ryan and Sarah were discussing the wedding with his parents. His mother, Pam, 50s, called me outraged that we had double the number of guests as her, and demanding that we give her just as many guests. She also did not think it was fair that my brother and sister-in-law were getting rooms, and not her family. I told her it was best if we talked to the kids about how best to handle the situation. I called my daughter and offered to change the venue, but she and Ryan agreed that no way Pam needs more than 50 guests, as they don't have a big family, and only a few close friends. We called her back and informed her that we had already set a budget and specifically picked the location because we knew it would fit the budget. But if she wanted more guests, she would have to cover the additional costs, since we are planning for 200 people and the additional 50 people would put us above the budget. She was not happy about this, and said she wasn't sure she would be attending because she could not have all of her friends there. Ryan thinks she is bluffing about this and doesn't seem to care. Am I the a-hole for inviting more of my guests for a wedding that I am footing the whole bill for and asking the complaining mother of groom to fund her additional guests? Not the a-hole. You're paying for it, and the couple is in agreement with you. Tell her to go pound sand. Also, $90,000 for a wedding is insane. Just saying. Not the a-hole. This seems like something your daughter and Ryan should be handling. If he's so confident they don't need other guests, he can tell his mother that, rather than you being the middleman. Ultimately, it was him who gave you the numbers that led to it being lopsided. It's not like you've cut their list down to fit in more of your guests. So, here's the deal. My 31 female husband, 42 male, has a 14-year-old stepson who lives with us full-time. I love this kid like my own, and I really don't have much of a distinction between him and my own kids. 2 baby boys, 20 months old and 2 months. Note, I just had a baby, so my body is in a particularly embarrassing, odd state at the moment. I had been bleeding for some time when this subject came back up, and I am lactating and sweating like a hog. So my side of the bed is not really one I want to be sharing with anybody to begin with, other than my husband and the babies. I would be reluctant to share my side of the bed at this moment with an older son of mine. I don't even mind if they are snuggling over the covers and under a throw blanket, but this kid burrows in like a honey badger and gets cozy. But on top of that, I just don't want to be restricted from my bed in my bathroom, especially when I am already in the course of using it. For instance, I have no problem with my stepson using our bathroom to take showers or baths in, or for him going in there for any reason. I don't have an issue with him coming into our room for any reason. But my husband just loves to cuddle with him in our bed for long hours of the night, when it is way past our regular bedtime, and I have work the next day, or long after I've taken a shower and gotten out and haven't gotten clothes. Just tonight, my husband was having a heart-to-heart with his son, and after they had showers, they reconvened in our bed. I passed through the bedroom, clearly stinking and sweaty, and my husband mentions as I pass that my youngest son needs to be breastfed too, so to hurry up. So I get in the shower, wash, get out, and I'm sitting in there for like 15 minutes, waiting to hear my husband say goodnight to my stepson. Finally, I stick my head out and say, in an admittedly irritated tone, "Hey, can I come out?" And he says, "What, you don't have clothes?" And I say, "No, of course I don't. I never do." I was really irritated because I brought this up with him before. I just want these spaces to myself. My side of the bed and my room after a shower, when I'm obviously done. I mentioned that I wanted this boundary to my husband, and he blew up, saying he was getting caught up with my stepson's grades, and I rudely interrupted, and that I should take clothes into the bathroom. The thing is, we have 2 or 3 other places where people could comfortably snuggle, 2 with TVs, so these special late-night movie times don't have to be in our bed. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If your husband wants to have heart-to-hearts and cuddles with your oldest, that's lovely. He can do that in the kids' room. Not the a-hole. You're entitled to have a room where you can come and go and not have to worry about anything at all. Husband should be having the heart-to-hearts in the kids' room. He's being a jerk for not getting a boundary right, especially because you have 2 young kids at home. You need to have some space that's your space. I'm mad on your behalf. Maybe you can set it as an hours thing. Your nighttime hours are from 9:30 p.m. to 8:30 a.m. So no hanging out in your room in that window.